Friendship supreme. Friendship supreme. Finding the geek within.
What's up, everybody? I'm Michael.
This is Cleve.
And welcome to an exciting episode of Friendship
Supreme.
Oh, God, that was gorgeous. I don't even want to do an episode anymore.
Thank you.
We're the podcast that dares to ask, what happens when a child actor...
Snorts cocaine.
Good God. Has an album and pursues an adult career.
Has an album. Like he bought it from the store. Has an album.
They have an album. Shit. What are we talking about today, Cleve?
Today we're talking about a Picture Perfect Hollywood Heartbreak. An album by Zach. Is it Callison?
I always say Callison.
How do you say it?
I say Callison, yeah.
That's how I say it too. That's how I read it, at least.
Yeah.
It's a very short
9 songs.
EP. Yeah. It is
28 minutes.
The singer is the voice of Steven Universe. That's kind of how I connected the dots, even finding it.
Which Cleve and I are big fans of.
Yep. I saw the cover of it, and I was like, I am very curious on how this story lays out. And boy, it's about how the cover looks.
I saw the cover and thought immediately, is this Brendan Urie from Panic at the Disco, like, inspired? The whole thing gave that kind of vibe to me, which my wife told me was crazy.
I do get that feel.
Yeah.
I did get that feel as well.
It felt like a lot.
Yeah, very short. There are 1, 2, 3,
9.
4 songs that are just called interlude this, interlude 1, 2, 3, and 4. We've never covered an album before. This is new for us, an episode 200 and something. What did you feel when you heard this? How did you feel when you heard Steven Universe sing, and then he sniffed cocaine?
So interesting things to know from this.
Mm-hmm.
He released the songs War, Curtain Call, and She Don't Know before the actual album came out. Which is real weird because the entire thing is very obviously a story. And each song relies on the other song existing to make sense in some capacity. How did I feel? So
that, you know what, that is a crazy mindset process to me, but also the way that these musicians move now, I don't disbelieve that somehow it was all kept in order in his head. You know what I mean?
Yes. I do, and I understand, and I'm going to read you something in a second that will maybe tie that together for you.
Okay.
My initial thoughts on this was he has a great voice.
Such a good voice.
But
no matter what negative I say about this, if any,
understand he has very pretty voice.
Understand he is so talented.
Very talented.
So very talented.
I'm not a fan of spoken word, which I think we agree on.
So interesting. I'm not a fan. I'm a fan of rap. I'm not a fan of spoken word. I would say I'm a fan of like slam poetry.
I don't even think it's that I can say I'm not a fan. What I can say is that I'm not a fan of whatever happened in this particular album when he was doing it. Because it was such a jarring change in tempo and style.
Every time it kicked in, yeah.
It was like I'd be getting into it, and then all of a sudden it was like, let me pound something into your ear that doesn't need to necessarily be there. And so it was kind of here and there.
When I first heard this album, I genuinely thought that I should have been watching something, and I just was like, I couldn't find it. Like almost like it was a short play that he had put on.
So I looked all over, by the way. I've researched this as much as I can to try to figure out what Zach's mindset was when he did this,
Hmm.
what the purpose is behind it. And he's very secretive about the whole thing. He is not public about a lot of stuff.
Makes me think it has a lot to do with him directly.
And it does. So I
Yeah.
found one article or one person that supposedly had an interview with him. I can't vouch for the validity of said interview. Maybe this person made up answers and questions because there's no like video of it, but much like an old magazine where they would like write down the question and then give the answer that the person supposedly listened to.
Magazines, old man.
I know. The interviewer asked, "Tell me about the EP, A Picture Perfect Heartbreak. What's the story behind it, and what can your listeners expect?" His response was, "The project is an attempt to encapsulate an era of my life into one soundtrack. From the destructive times at rock bottom to the highest points of unstable revenge-fueled mania. In total, the narrative of the album, which I wanted to tell a complete story from start to finish, begins the bottom and climbs back towards the top. But I'm unsure if that top point is really a true end point to the story. This chapter wasn't meant to have a fully happy ending. I'm not really there yet, I don't think. In any case, expect a saga that's epic, theatrical, and unlike anything you're ever heard before." There's several other interview questions, and we don't necessarily need to go into that. But essentially, he had 2 songs written completely. She Don't Know being the first one. Huh?
Mhm.
Yeah, he'd finished writing She Don't Know first while writing this entire album. Like he had the album in mind and was writing it, but She Don't Know was the first song to complete. And so like he did know he wanted this to happen and he wanted to tell a story, but like the way he finished it was not necessarily all in order, which is interesting. There's like this huge community of Redditors and Tumblers, which Tumblr is a thing. I am not gonna lie and even try to pretend like I understand what Tumblr has going on in itself. But anyway, there is so much speculation on everything going on, and like there's people that are just diehard fans of this and are like, if you say anything bad about it, you know, you're wrong and stuff. And
I wonder if they watch Steven Universe.
it's wild. So we can talk about it first, and then I can start dropping some other interesting information on you.
Okay.
Is there a song that like really spoke out to you? You were like, this one I could listen to on its own.
So I think my favorite song was Phantom Love.
Agreed.
Which is weird because it's the first song. Like, it's not like I didn't enjoy the rest of the album, but it's weird when your favorite one is like the first one. You're right. I'm not a big fan of the spoken word too, and I enjoy like conversational singing, like back and forth. I feel like this album had the makings of everything that I like, and I wasn't the biggest like. I'm not going to be the biggest champion for it.
Yeah.
I do also feel like if I was at a different age in my life, I would be fucking bumping this all the time. I feel like if I was 16 to 18 to 20-ish maybe, I would be like, this shit is fucking amazing. And it is amazing, and it is really good. It's weird to be like, too old for this, but I feel like he's singing about his experiences that he lived, and it's kind of at that age range. You know what I mean? We're kind of past that. We still like our songs that came out
right
at that time
they trigger
that are
memories.
about
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Um, I don't disagree. I think you're pretty spot on about that. I think younger me would have probably been like, "Ooh, this is edgy and I like it." It's definitely not surprising anymore. We're in an age now where like childhood actors are on constant in the constant spotlight of like what happened to them as they
Mhm.
were growing up, and kind of the manipulation and abuse that they go through during their whole adventure. Um
There's a lyric he says. It's like I'm not gonna remember the lyric exactly because he is able to sing very fast. But it was more or less like, people like me because they're able to use me right now, and what happens when they can't use me anymore, and what worth am I? And I, it's very much like this is my, it's basically 8 Mile for him. Like it is talking about me specifically. This is not um, Rebecca Sugar. I left a toy outside when I was little, and now it looks a little different. Like you can implement that in a couple of different places. This is like this is what this fucking song's about. There is no implying otherwise.
mhm.
Or
Interestingly,
maybe I just can't see the deeper meaning behind it. Maybe because I'm a simple man and with a
it's
smooth brain.
interestingly the album came out in 2018.
Hmm.
Uh Steven Universe ended 2018 and Future started in 19. Steven Universe Future. So there was that gap where he was transitioning into not being a child cartoon voice
Hmm.
actor. And he, in one interview, and I tried to find it, I know I've seen it because I watched a lot of interviews with the Steven Universe cast a while back. And I tried to find it and I couldn't. But I remember him specifically saying he wanted to distance himself from child roles. Like he
Hmm.
wanted to grow up and wanted to do something different that wasn't him playing kids. He ends up coming back as Steven in Future,
Right.
but he is older and he does deal
Hmm.
with more adult-ish topics or at
Yeah.
least trauma. Um I thought it was an interesting choice to bring on Grace Rolick, who is the voice actor of Connie.
Hmm. I did. I wasn't sure it was her. I did hear it, and I was like, I'm pretty sure
It is.
that's her.
And I don't like it was an interesting choice because and I spoke to my sister about this. She's another big Steven Universe fan. She'd heard this album as well, and so her and I had a slight discussion about it. And she felt that he related well to her because she was within the same space that he operated in. But I also still think it's weird. I want to distance myself from these particular roles, and then I team up with someone from one of my
Yeah.
past roles. I will say he was in a short film of hers. Like she did like an artsy like show it at the film
So,
festival kind of thing.
so maybe it's more just like a friend, especially a
Yeah.
friend that probably understands
Yeah,
this
and that's kind
exact
of what my
thing.
sister was
Yeah,
saying was like it's more of a, you
I
know,
get what you're saying, but it's not like all the crystal gems were there. It was just like one girl who like
I
kind of is in the same boat.
interestingly, I would be curious if he reached out to Estelle specifically, potentially
Hmm.
Rebecca Sugar, but like Estelle did and was in the space that he wanted to get into. So you would have thought maybe he would have used that connection to just maybe have conversations about his music career.
I see him being like, I want to do this myself.
Yeah.
I also see him being like, why would I use this fountain of fucking like talent at my disposal? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like asking the people who are at the top of their game a question and getting an answer because they know who you are and will respond to you. Not like us DMing somebody and being like, "Hey, How do we make a better podcast? And then they never respond back. That's happened to me a couple times.
We've done that. We've done that a couple times, guys. There's been when they're like, "Hey, you should look at other channels and like see what you can do better." We've reached out to other channels.
Mm.
But anyway,
It's like if we, God, for the lack of a better example, went to. No, I'll come up with another example. No, I don't have anything.
okay, good. I so interestingly, the whole album's about some bad stuff that happened to him. I will say during the interview, he constantly complimented his parents. So he did luck out in that he didn't have shitty parents, as far as I can tell, or that he's willing to admit.
I also super respect and like that the album didn't like, hey, I don't have her, so I have drugs, and now I'm good. It was like, I think there was a part where it's like, I wish I was holding you, and I'm not. So I'll hold these drugs, but it's nothing compared to how I would just feel if I was happy with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this isn't taking my mind off of it. This is a very worse substitute for what I'm trying to feel. It was deep, man. He got in there.
So let's see. He is currently.
And he did some shit with, while you're looking that up, he did some shit with his voice that is wild.
He is incredibly talented.
Wild. And it's so funny looking at him like I don't know if you've ever seen the Goldbergs. He's in the Goldbergs. He plays like one of the jockey kids that goes to
watched
school.
all the Goldbergs, and I don't know that I realized he was in that.
Yeah, it's not a big role. He speaks like a couple times, but he's definitely a reoccurring character in that show.
Okay, he's 26. This happened 6 years ago. This album. So he
around
was
the age
20 years old.
Nailed it. I 16 to 20.
There's another piece of information that I need to know real quick.
When Steven Universe started?
No. He started at 7 years old with Steven Universe, I believe.
God, Steven Universe is old.
Yeah. Nope. How old are you?
I think it's kind of where I just end up with this album is like, you know, most music speaks to you and you identify with it in some way, or it's just dumb and you enjoy it. This definitely had its meaning, and I couldn't necessarily get on the same wavelength of it. It's kind of how I feel. I think it was good. I think it's a good album. I mean, I don't know that any of my songs are making my playlist unless it's like my super sad playlist. I try not to have super sad playlists anymore.
Phantom Love.
All motivational here, baby.
Phantom Love is good. Here's the thing. Okay, so I think that this was to be paired specifically with a short film, like an hour long, that went along with it, like visually, kind of like a Pink Floyd situation, Brick in the Wall, where they had a whole visual album to watch. I think it would be significantly better. I think this is something that's meant to be digested in visual art form.
Or even if every one of his songs had a music video to it, like,
yeah,
you know,
or
I really felt like when I was listening to this and when I first discovered this album, I really thought that this came from like a play that I just wasn't seeing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's why maybe it's not connecting with me because I'm missing the other elements of this.
And I think that's, I think it should be. I think there should be some sort of visual component that exists, whether it's a play, music videos, cartoons, something that ties it all together and tells the story visually. Because
not cartoons, man, you're gonna trigger them.
Okay, so here, fun facts. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The protagonist is Zach himself in the songs. He never changes his name in those. He does change two names. There is a Christy and a Juanita. He calls Christy his sister. All speculation leads to this being Grace. That this is Connie.
Okay.
Christy is Connie. Because apparently that she's always been there for him. It's been a really deep connection between them.
Yeah.
She sings some parts that are suspected to be Christy talking to him. But the more fun part is this. So Juanita, I'm not the internet sleuth that these people are on Reddit because it's insane. They took timelines and Instagram feeds and Twitter feeds and everything, pulled things apart, and we figured out who Juanita is. Not only did we figure out who Juanita is, it's kind of mind-blowing. I'm going to say a name to you, and I'm curious if it triggers anything in your head. Her name is Kelsey Taylor. She is a year younger than him. So he would have been 20 when he came out with this. She would have been 19. A year before this album came out, something very big happened for Kelsey Taylor. Does her name sound familiar to you at all? She was a yoga instructor. She was big into singing. So she's a singer songwriter. And that is the accusations currently, is that she essentially dated Zach and used him because he was in the song singing atmosphere or area, and like kind of squeezed him dry of everything he had to further herself.
That is like bar for bar.
Yeah.
Like this album, like,
she happened to marry a very famous person, Cleve.
Oh, okay.
At the age of 24.
Okay.
He had been dating her since she was 18.
Oh, okay.
His name is Dane Cook. She is the 20-year-old or 18-year-old that Dane Cook was dating, that everybody has talked all this shit about, and he's become just a giant piece of garbage because of this whole entire relationship that he's been in. And they got married last year.
Makes so much sense.
So this 19-year-old,
a crazy amount of sense.
So this had to have happened to Zach in his between like 16, maybe 16 to 17, or 16 to 18, maybe, because when she turned 18, she was dating him, dating Dane, and she essentially like left him for Dane Cook, who's 30 fucking years older than her.
Juanita's trash. Like, you know what? I will be part of the Reddit now.
Dog, it's wild. And so like it's to the point where like they can see the moment that he stopped liking pictures on her Instagram.
These people are freaking...
Don't ever fuck up. The internet will find you.
Dog, I don't understand how all murders haven't been solved with the internet.
Yo, did you ever watch what's the Cats one? Don't fuck with cats.
I watched the part 1 of 2, maybe.
It's fucking wild.
People, no, don't fuck with us. Don't fuck with like, that's what they should just take all crimes and like cold case stuff and just put it on the internet.
So there are multiple pictures.
Just let people solve it for rewards.
This is part of the Reddit that I took a snapshot of. There are multiple pictures from around 2015 of Zach with a girl named Kelsey Taylor. Kelsey Taylor's been in a relationship since 2017. She dropped her first EP, by the way, a week after this one came out. Zach has liked plenty of her old pictures on Instagram, but the last picture he liked was on July 31st of 2015. The next picture she posted was on August 4th of 2015.
Ooh. You did not help me in the spelling of Kelsey Taylor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Kelsi. Yeah,
I found it. I had Dane Cook's wife. I had to reverse engineer it.
Yeah,
but I got there.
But essentially, like, they've all worked it down to it is Kelsey Taylor. And their relationship ended around 2015. So if it's 2000, so he was born. God, I had all this figured out, and then my computer stopped letting me have it on my computer. Zach Allison, born in 1997. It was in 2015, so 18. He was 18 when when he like and her separated. So this was like a 2-year relationship, 3-year relationship of them, and then it burned real hard and real fast.
I'm looking at this People magazine article about them too,
Uh-huh.
and it's almost like they're like, yeah, it's fine. You know what I mean?
About her and Dane Cook.
Yeah.
Yeah, the world's weirdly okay with it. It's really gross.
She graduated high school at an early age. She and Dane Cook first met during a game night at his house he was hosting.
Yeah, that's fucking weird. Why is she there?
What age was she when she was at that?
Right, 18 supposedly. Weirdly, anyway.
She doesn't mind if Dane Cook makes jokes at her expense, I imagine, because he's got money and you're a succubus.
It's
So as long as the money keeps flowing in, you're happy.
it's wild. It's crazy.
I mean, I was gonna say we all had a girl like that, you know, in the hardship of growing up, but I don't know that it was this bad.
Oh,
That you just used the shit out of me to get what you wanted, and then immediately dumped me.
for someone 30 years older than us. Yeah. So it's wild, but like apparently like a lot of the accusations existed within like his friend groups. People were like starting to comment and make all these like references to the fact that he was like this drugged out blah blah blah, and like there was a point in time where he was not on like the interview panels for Steven Universe. He wasn't going to the conventions, and I think a lot of it had to do with this.
I like to think that it you know, that was just him dramatizing the situation, but now I'm realizing that
I don't think so. I don't think so.
He was in the shit.
I think
he was in there. Poor him.
Yeah.
You know what? And if this album helped him move on and
I will
like be here with us now, then I love it.
Yeah.
It's amazing, beautiful album.
The last question he was asked in the interview was like, what do you see coming up for you in the future? Blah, blah, blah. And he was like, I'm going to continue writing. So hopefully he comes out with more music. I think that he could work with people and do some things that would be phenomenal. I just think he needs to find what he wants out of his musical career. But he has a beautiful voice. He has talent. Like, I think that he definitely, he writes well. Even though I didn't like the spoken word portions, it was still good lyrics. It was just not the delivery that I would have wanted.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like I'll never be able to sing along to any of the songs.
No,
unfortunately. Yeah, no. I mean, it's so weird because I thought the songs were good. Like I said, you're right. The spoken word I wasn't a fan of, but that wasn't even the whole song. A lot of the songs had a lot of very catchy parts to them. You know what? I will repeat it. If this is what kept him here, and not someplace darker, then I am all for the expression that this man needs to make. Poor kid, man. That's tough. Especially that young, and some girl is like pretending to love him, and that's all he's looking for is just to be loved and accepted. And then imagine thinking you found that just to realize, just kidding. How long did you say they dated?
it seems to be about 3 years. 2 to 3 years is the speculation.
So that age is peak like heartbreak age, right?
Oh, 100%.
By the time they broke up, she was 18 to be fucking Dane Cook. What a piece of shit. Anyway, so yeah, man, that's around the time that normal kids are breaking up with their first girlfriend and locking themselves in the room for a week. So if you don't have that because you're a star, because he is, and then you have to be paranoid of every girl that you're dating because every girl is in love. Are they in love with Steven Universe or Zach?
Yeah.
I imagine the weight that this kid had to carry, and I'm happy that he was able to work through it. And I hope if he hasn't gotten all the way through it, that will eventually one day win his internal battle.
I think it was very cathartic for him.
Yeah.
So that is good.
Be better than me. I'd have fucking name dropped the shit out of that bitch. I would have fucking, I'd have name dropped the shit out of her. Her Miss Kelsey. Jonathan Taylor. And then just like, I don't know who I'm talking about. It's a mystery. Don't worry about it. I like football.
Yeah, no, I think it's something that people should listen to. I think everybody might be able to find something in it that they would enjoy.
Yeah, you get something out of this for sure.
He has a beautiful voice, so I definitely would give it a try. It's not Cookie Cat, but what is
Cookie Cat? Fuck. It's more
Cocaine Cat?
Steven and the Stevens, you know.
By watching myself die, my daughter every time. That's a weird way to do it, Dad. I said, yeah, it is, but here we are. Let us know what you guys think down in the comments below. Go listen to the album, check it out. It's called Picture Perfect Hollywood Breakup, right?
Yes.
Picture Perfect Hollywood Breakup by Zach Callison. Let us know what you guys think down below. I've been Michael.
This is Cleve, and take care of your fucking mental health, because
Please.
That shit's important.
It is.
And if not, don't marry Dane Cook.